Hi guys, and welcome back to the YouTube channel, and welcome to another coffee chat and another live via Zoom. And today I have Sal. And hello, Sal. Say hello.
Hi, Ian. Hello, everyone.
We're going on a wing and a prayer, and we're just going to be organic, and we're just going to flow, and we're just going to talk about it. We've had a little bit of pre-discussion just to get to kind of know each other a little bit about what we do, and well, mainly what Sal does, because most people know what I do on the channel anyway. Very interesting group of therapies that you do. So I'm really interested into getting into them and talking about them and getting some more details. And I'm sure the people who watch will be as well. And do feel free to, share this video I will share it to you, the link for the YouTube channel. So feel free to share it far and wide to use for your own advertising purposes if you wish. Introduce yourself to us all. Tell us who you are, what you do.
So I'm Sal, everyone, and I'm the founder of Spacious Wings Therapies. Originally a London-based practice, now very internationally online and covering areas like Hertfordshire, Cambridgeshire, that kind of thing now. Like many, I've taken the step and moved out of the big smoke, taken the opportunity over the pandemic. I know you're nowhere near the big smoke anyway, Ian.
No. I'm way up.
Yeah. So we were just having a chat because I was saying how out of date my website is and how it doesn't truly represent what I do now, and it's in the process of being updated, and how the pandemic and just shifts in everything in the world and everything have just shifted the way that I work and how I've evolved in my own professional and spiritual journey, really, and relationship with myself and relationship to the infinite power of healing and transformation out there.
Mm-hmm.
It's a great, there's a lot of exciting stuff in that respect going on at the moment. I'm kind of really enjoying finding out more. I've just trained in a couple of, I'm a gong practitioner now as well, and so I'm starting to incorporate a little bit of sound, but really it's really my main thing is traditionally regression therapist. I was trained. Have you read Many Lives, Many Masters, Ian, by Dr. Brian Weiss?
No, I haven't.
Yeah, it's a really good book. It's like
there's another book suggestion.
It's not like a theory book. It's like a novel, but it's a true. So I was originally trained by Dr. Brian Weiss. I went and did his course quite a few years ago, and he inspired me through a auditorium regression of 1,000 people about 8 years ago. I ended up going back and something happened, and I always said one day I'd go back and I'd do his conference, go to America, do his course. I never planned to become a regression therapist. I was training to be a Cranio sacral therapist at the time, a body therapist, but in the end I realized how profound, magical and healing going back to uncover the root of a block and really shift what's going on now and moving forward can really transform that, really.
Stuff, isn't it? Really powerful stuff.
It is very powerful, extremely powerful.
So what kind of brought you here to do all this? Did you go through, like, was it a spiritual awakening process that you went through? Was it something that you've been almost onto from an early age, and you felt that it's something that you need to go down? What brought you to do all these different forms of healing?
Well, I've worked with people in a therapeutic capacity since pretty much all my life. If I wasn't kind of working with children and people with disabilities earlier on, and then I was a care assistant, I actually became a social worker, and I worked with young offenders for 20 years.
Right.
So I have a lot of experience with youths, with young men, with children, families, mental health, substance misuse and criminality, and children in care. So my experience as a youth offending officer, youth offending social worker, and also as a counsellor it was kind of gave me the foundations. You know, I was kind of, you could say I was kind of a social healer then, although I would never have considered it. You know, I wasn't aware, maybe so aware of energy.
Yeah.
You know, it was more of a kind of the, you know, working in that field, keeping kids out of prison, rehabilitating them, helping them out.
It's more of a physical aspect of life rather than a spiritual or energetic aspect.
Absolutely. Although interestingly enough, when I reflect, it's amazing. I just didn't have a name for it, but actually it was all very deeply spiritual in a funny way. But it wasn't necessarily a conscious thing, but it was about relating to people. It was all about connection. It was coming from a place of love. For me, the work was, because I truly knew that it was about really helping the people I was with through treating them with respect, love, and kindness. Yeah. And I eventually left because I reached the end of my social work. You know, I think unfortunately social workers often have a shelf life, which is a shame because it's such a stressful job. But I did it for 20 odd years, mainly in the.
That's a long time. That's a long time to do that.
Yeah, it is, particularly with the amount of aggro you know, I was getting subjected to, whether it be from the criminals or their parents or the court or the prisons or whatever. But, you know, at the end, I took some time out, and then I went and trained as a craniosacral therapist. So had to go back and study loads of anatomy, do clinics. So, and that was absolutely profound. It really took me right out of my comfort zone because I knew I needed to do something, and I didn't want to go back to what I was doing before. And I still wanted to work with people. So I ended up going that way. And then it was when I remembered I wanted to go back and do the Brian Weiss conference thing from years ago. I thought, well, I can now. I have a little bit of space. I'm studying. I'm not working at the moment. And that kind of took me on that direction. Yeah. And now through the pandemic and really working on myself in deep meditation, working through dreams, I then started getting messages about how to do things in a different way, which is how I found my own way of delivering remote body treatments through just working in deep, spacious meditation and with clear intention and permission. I now conduct my own remote version of a craniosacral therapy treatment on a distance with adults, with children, a lot of autistic children, people with physical and emotional issues, to the point of even one lady's fibromyalgia pain stopped. You know, one of my autistic children started to talk because I was doing a lot of work in the throat and the tongue, but all from a distance. So that was over a period of time over the pandemic, first with the first lockdown, second lockdown, where it took a while, but I started getting the message and then started getting the clients knocking on the door saying, I'm desperate. You need to help my teenage son. She's anger, or my daughter, you know, she can't talk. She doesn't let down, you know, she needs to get over her trauma. And then that opened the door for working in that way. And it's been profoundly powerful, to the point of almost more powerful than when I used to give hands-on treatments to people. So that took me in that direction. And then out of the regression side of things, when I do different types of regression, came a dream in the pandemic to start running lots of group I call them soul journeying experiences, giving people the opportunity to do a completely transformative, holistic regression experience on a different theme each week, to help them shift and grow, and incorporate various different techniques within that. And some of the people that came, the outcomes were phenomenal. People healing a wound to do with their absent father, you know, out of 20, you might have a few that have something as profound as that, but pretty amazing, where sometimes it can take a few one-to-one sessions to get something like that often.
A lot of people underestimate the power of distant work, distant therapy, distant healing. I think it's, with a lot of people, it's the ego and they think that, you know, you have to be present, you have to have results straight away, you have to feel something, you know, whereas in actual fact, a lot of deep healing, and especially emotional and trauma work, it's so far embedded that it takes a lot of peeling back layers before you expose it and then are able to deal with that level of energy that you're working with.
That's right.
Could you give us a little? I mean, I've done a little bit of research online with regards to craniosacral therapy uses and how it works. But would you like to let people know just like what it is and what it's all about?
Excuse me. Yeah, of course. So craniosacral therapy comes from osteopathy. It's been around for over 100 years, and it comes from the States. It's very much linked into working with the nervous system in the body. So there's a big anatomical background to craniosacral therapy, very much working with obviously the brain, the spinal cord, the whole nerve supply, very much to do with the parasympathetic and the fight and flight response. So it's a kind of like working with the autonomic nervous system and reaching a point of balance. So and working with things like very much the cranial bones, all the way down to the sacral bone. I mean, that's traditionally what's called cranio, sacral. But we can treat any part of the body with, and it's as I said, we had to study a lot of anatomy, but the whole process is extremely non-invasive, gentle, non-manipulative. So you might go to an osteopath and you get clicked or whatever, and you know, even I like a good click sometimes, but what this does is this lets the body self-correct over time. So the therapist, if it's a hands-on treatment, they will gently be holding particular parts of the body to the point you may not even feel the therapist holding, but the therapist is perhaps communicating with certain parts of your body in a very deep sense when they're doing that, with their own grounding. And sometimes when you're doing this work, we can feel very subtle shifts in between our hands, bones, tissues, fluids moving. Sometimes I feel like I can see inside the body, and I can see maybe a gush of fluid, or there's something that's becoming released. So it's quite a subtle, highly intuitive, yet quite anatomical approach. It's kind of where, I don't know, where kind of a clinical approach meets a spaciousness meditation approach.
It's almost like a medical Reiki, isn't it, really?
I guess so. I mean, we don't call it, I guess, you know, it is really healing in a roundabout way. The body self heals, but it's something that's never the healing word is never used in that respect. But absolutely, because there is massive crossovers, because with Reiki, chakras are actually where nerves meet. So we're often treating areas in craniosacral therapy where, you know, another person may see it as a chakra point, but I'll be seeing it as where the nerve supply to the heart that maybe helps with this, or which, you know, I might be treating a certain organ. Because we do believe in craniosacral therapy, or many craniosacral therapists do, the way I was taught was that physical ailments, symptoms, you know, imbalances are often rooted to trauma and emotional factors. And so that's why we will treat organs. We do treat the body when it's a shock. We do treat birth trauma, for example. We do treat where, you know, those kind of things, and we can be with the body, and the body can often go into a shock release state. And just as an animal in the wild that might be running from a predator might go into a shaking response, we as human beings sometimes, ideally in the world, or even in our sense of a world, will probably benefit from doing that, but we don't do that because we can't. It doesn't come to us naturally. But actually, our body will then hang on to the cortisol. It will hang on to the adrenaline, and it's actually quite toxic for our body. So craniosacral therapy provides a space to somehow allow the body to release shocks, traumas, rebalance, by tapping into that nervous system and activating certain things like the vagus nerve, which is the kind of the master nerve that runs through the body that helps rest, digest, recuperate, integrate, and almost counteracting the fight and flight response, and bringing a balance into the body again.
Yeah, I just did a video about the vagus nerve not so long ago, because there was a few things that popped up on YouTube about it, and I was just like, wow, That's interesting, you know, and how much it actually controls. It controls a hell of a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
So and then I found out about ways of how you can manipulate it and massage around here and around the back of the ears now. And then it got me thinking into, like, you know, like a lot of people when they're stressed, they tend to rub the backs of their ears, or they'll run around the temples, you know. And
Yeah.
I said in the video, it just shows how intuitive we are in our own healing ability. We don't actually realize that just this
No.
simple action of this movement is, in effect, a healing movement, a healing act, but we don't realize it.
Yeah, there's a few ways to activate the vagus nerve by doing simple things. One thing is, you know, like kids grow raspberries.
Mm.
That is an activation of the vagus nerve. Is
All right,
like
right.
raspberries.
Is that because
Another
of the
one,
tongue and all that sort of the throat and yeah, right.
the vagus nerve is one of the cranial nerves, very much primarily involved in swallowing and talking.
Yeah.
It goes through the throat, the whole throat region. Well, it goes through, it's a master nerve. I mean, it goes right down to half the digestive system.
Yeah.
So again, if your digestive system's playing up, which is one of the first things to be affected in high stress levels, will be digestion, in my clinical experience. And so when I get a client comes to me with digestive issues, immediately I'll treat the vagus nerve. I'll be around there doing some stuff around the neck, you know, straight away. Might be doing some throat stuff as well, whether it be in person or whether we be from a distance. I'm tuning in as if their body's here and I'm holding that position and I'm tuning in. And so absolutely, there's quite a lot. They can dunk your face. Cold water is another thing that activates the vagus nerve as well. So again, all these acts can really bring a calming effect. A bit like, I guess, taking rescue remedy, although I don't know if rescue remedy activates the vagus nerve. It might, but it definitely can, like, you know, a bit like it, you know, tapping as well. It can really just, it can just really help. So yeah, I think it's pretty amazing.
I wonder if that's where like sort of Wim Hof gets a lot of his, you know, because he does a lot of like sort of cold showers or ice baths, and, you know, jumping in barrels of ice and things like that. It's got that really calming therapeutic response from the body to reduce anxiety. Yeah,
that's exactly it.
Yeah.
And breath work as well, working with breath again, because the vagus nerve is servicing, goes around the whole, all the lungs. It's to do with the heart, the lungs. You know, there are different nerves. There's the fight or flight nerve supply as well, you know, the sympathetic nerve supply, but there is the vagus nerve that will also regulate breath, regulate heartbeat, you know, and kind of slow things down. So that all certainly helps. Yeah.
And it's amazing to think that all these things operate totally out of the conscious mind. We're totally unaware of it. It just happens, and it's all part of this subconscious connection between that and us. And I was having a similar conversation in my Reiki share group on Monday with my Reiki master, and he's quite analytical and sometimes quite scientific in his thoughts, as well as being a spiritual person. And he talks about the ANS, or the autonomic nervous system, quite a lot. And I'm starting to think now that there's a big crossover and a big connection between your autonomic nervous system and your subconscious and your higher self. I think there's something really profound and big going on there. Whether it can be scientifically proved these days, I don't know, but in the future, possibly. But I do believe that there is something very big. There's a big connection there, because we don't really use most of our brain anyway. It's a lot of it's just auto processes.
Absolutely.
That's fascinating. Fascinating stuff, and like to do the distance work as well, with regards to that.
You do quite a lot of distant work, from what I read on your website.
I'm predominantly distant. All of my Reiki work now is, at the minute, is distant. I have looked into trying to get back. I do hands-on for like friends, family, anyone in the local vicinity, but everything is pretty much distant with new clients. But yeah, I am looking possibly in the near future to try and find somewhere to hire to use a room, because I can't really use this space. It's not really adequate. But yeah, that's something that I will be looking to in the future. with regards to moving forward with the business. But yeah, I mean, that'll just happen as and when it's meant to, you know. So going in, we've talked about that quite a bit, and it really is fascinating. I'm sure we could probably talk for a whole hour about it, but I do want to try and just sort of like, and we might do another one in the future, you know, and come back with more specific stuff. But yeah, past life regression, that's another form of your therapy. So
yeah, it is. I started off. I started off with that, as I said, when I went and did the Brian Weiss in America, and he's one of my idols, and I'm sure there's a lot of people watching this who are going to know who he is. But then that just opened the door, because I was training. So I found lots of connections between regression and craniosacral therapy, because a lot of craniosacral therapy links back to birth. And a lot of people, while they're getting a treatment, they may feel like they've gone back in the womb, or the therapist may have a womb image come through an embryological. So with regression therapy, you're going back as well a lot of the time. So I've treated a client, and while doing Cranio, and they've gone into a past life during the body treatment, for example, or they might have gone into womb. So with my regression practice, primarily I'm extremely busy with regression. Excuse me, something in my throat. Primarily past life, but I have, you know, there's a lot more beyond past life regression, although I think it's super amazing, super powerful. But inner child regression, working very much with early life memories, and I do regress back to womb. I've had a girl, one case I remember really well, of a girl going back to her gestation period of 6 months in her mum's womb. She came for inner child work, wanted to work on her very difficult relationship with her mum her entire life, wanted to try and get to the root of it. And she couldn't get past 6 years old. And then we used a couple of techniques. And bam, she was at 6 months gestation in the womb. And she remembers being first rejected by her mother. And it was very powerful. So working back to present life, well, actually, it's kind of an interesting one, because it's actually not this life, it's almost like this life. So that inner child work, womb regression, working with womb, which ties very closely to craniosacral therapy, I would say, and also working with the state of pre-birth, post-death. So one would say the life between lives, the space between lives, as I like to call it, which is Dr. Michael Newton wrote a lot of stuff on that area. He was probably one of the first people in the 60s to write about the, you know, journey of the soul's destinies of the soul, which is kind of semi-crosses over with the Akashic records to some degree. But this is a profound thing, or a session where a client could be in a regression for 4 or 5 hours doing this, where we go to that in-between state, and we run through soul groups, spiritual messages, get the most profound questions answered, such as, what is my life purpose? Who is my soul group? You know, the questions which a past life regression may touch on, but you're going to get the bigger picture questions, if you know what I mean, and answers there. And yeah, a very profound channeling potentially. I mean, a lot of my clients, they have really gone into, and their voices have changed, and they've become guides. They are talking. Right. So for me, that's fascinating. Working in that state, and it being quite a big session. And you know, like one of my mentors would have said, it's the kind of session you may only do it once in your life, or you might do it every 10, 15 years, but you're not likely to do it many times, because it could be the one thing that helps you on your path. You know, so it's fascinating, and also working in those realms of, you know, because what we do is we get, you know, there's the reincarnation aspect of that session, and the point where somebody chooses the life, which is they're choosing the person they are now, but it's as if it's before they were incarnated into this life, or reincarnated rather. So they actually are able to understand why they are who they are. And that, I think this kind of work is amazing if someone struggles to accept themselves, struggles to be fully present or grateful for the person they are, because maybe they haven't got a difficult life. But when they may realize the choices they had, they realize they actually did make the choice for a reason. And it can help people really let go of stuff by having that understanding of why they chose themselves. And it's quite profound. So I'm really enjoying working in that deep spirit state at the moment with clients. Yeah, I mean, I always work in spirit, even with past life and inner child sessions. I do a lot of my work in spirit anyway, and I do a lot of body regression therapy. So it again crosses very closely over with cranial therapy and very much to do with the nervous system at the same time. So yeah, regression, there's quite a few different areas of things I kind of do there. And what I often do is I get a client, they contact me and they're like, and then we'll tune into what's the best thing for them. And that's often how it rolls. Yeah.
Are you able to do, I don't know if would it be possible, are you able to do self-healing on yourself with past life regression?
I can go into my own past life experiences. I've done that. Meditation. I don't do it as often. I sometimes do swaps I did a swap with a colleague recently. I have a big block of procrastination. I'm a human being. She gave me a session on procrastination, and I get where it comes from, my block. And so that was interesting. So we often do swaps. I've had a lot of regression, done my own regressions quite a bit, but I can, if I want to, I can go into a past life myself. I just need to set an intention. The intention is the most important thing in every single thing I do.
Absolutely.
It gives everything a purpose, a meaning, a focus, and it gives spirit a place to go. And I think it's possible. I think once you start working, when one can work with trust, with when the grounding is there, the safety is there, the beings of light, the place is set up, the space is set up, I believe there's amazing things that we can all do. And I certainly feel that I'm in that place where I'll get a dream telling me how to do something, or I just have to kind of go quiet. And it won't come necessarily that day, but it might come 10 days later.
It's little things that we need to look for, isn't it? Like, I mean, I was saying to you before we came on that, like, in the space of me putting a message on Telegram about wanting to do these chats with other therapists, straight away 3 people that did past life regressions, and I'm just like, are you trying to tell me something here? So, it's something that I'm thinking, is it something that I need to try myself? So, really, really interesting stuff. With regards to receiving your information, do you receive it clairvoyantly, clairaudiently, or is it more of a sensory where you just feel it?
Okay, so when I do cranial treatments or remote body treatments, like my own take on doing a remote craniosacral treatment, I'm very physical, sensory. What is that, Claire? Is it sentient? I don't know what it is.
Clairsentience, yeah.
It's like kinesthetic. So I get my messages physically. Past life, often I get physically. So when I've had past life experiences, I will feel things happening in my body. I'll feel things around my body. I feel myself being touched. And I felt things happening in. When I'm doing a treatment, I will often get a feeling in my body. So my throat, I might touch my client's feet etherically, and straight away I feel something in the throat, or I might get an image of something going on around the lung or the heart, or I might be treating them even from a distance, but I do it as if I'm touching their body. I can feel their feet and everything when I do these things. And then I will get the message often through my hands, very feely. I do get sometimes a story or a flash in front of me, or a visual, but I'm not in any way a medium or a psychic. We're all psychic. And the more we do this work, the more we meditate, the more we tune into ourselves, the larger, the vaster it becomes, because we learn to trust it more. So therefore it just opens up, I feel. But for me, I would say it depends what I'm doing. If I'm doing it for myself, it's in a range of ways, but primarily physical. But if I'm meditating or I'm having my own regression as a client, I will probably, and I've even smelt things. I've actually had smell come in quite a few times.
Oh, there's a name for that as well. That's a Claire something. I can't. It begins with a P, I think. Claire sight something. I can't remember.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I've had smells a few times. I had two clients. I had this amazing treatment I gave a lady not long ago. I gave a remote Cranio session, and she couldn't believe it. She said to me, an old trauma of hers came up from more than 50 years ago when I treated her. She had an image of she was drowning. And then she said she started choking, and then she said she tasted chlorine in her nose and her mouth. And she realized she'd let go of a trauma. She forgot that she nearly drowned when she was a young child.
Yeah.
And during the cranial treatment, the smell and the taste came up, and she choked. It was profound, and she told me that. And it's funny how clients tell you, because I never know how. I kind of have a debrief with my clients. How was that? What came up for you? I tell them what I treated. I tell them if I tuned into anything. But I always like to hear what they have to say, because sometimes that's when with a connection, oh my goodness, you did this, that happened with me, and that's kind of it. And I said to her, I think I was treating her throat, I was treating her nasal cavity. I think I said that to her, and she said, oh my goodness, this happened, I can't believe it, I've just released an ancient trauma I forgot I had sitting in my body. And so it's always amazing when you talk to a client, because many of my clients will feel me physically working on them. Some of them will have an emotional outpour, some of them will have a very trippy experience. This is maybe the remote cranial treatments or the hands-on cranial treatments, where they're often just lying on a bed or on a couch with their eyes closed. But it's always interesting to hear. Whereas if it's a regression client, depending on what type of regression, if it's one of my group sessions, then it's non-conversing. I'm guiding a journey, a group of people. But in terms of my one-to-ones, it's a purely interactive experience. So many of my clients may be receiving their information through a number of senses, and I encourage that, because you can't assume a person gets a visual, because not everyone's visual. People are very, so like I'm very feely. So I think it's funny, because there's almost a mirroring between me and my clients in terms of our own journeys with this work.
Of energy. It's like let's say you connect. It's like me when I'm doing distance sessions here. I will sometimes, I've done a distance session and I know that they're laid down, or I know that they're sat. I know how they're positioned, and I just visualize it in my mind's eye, and I see what they're doing, and I can see things. And sometimes I'll almost like remote view of who they are and where they are in the room. And sometimes I'll see spiritual beings around them that are helping me with the healing energy going to them. Sometimes the session I did the other day, I had the ladies who I believe was a mother was next to me, and she was like helping with the healing through me as well. But I think that, like you say, I think everyone's got this clairsentience anyway. I always say in all my videos that everybody's like empathic. Everybody's got like this empathic ability, because we're all connected. We have this oneness. But like you say, the more you work on yourself, the more you meditate, the more you become in this present in this energy. It flourishes and it develops and it moves out and it expands.
Absolutely. And I would say working with the body is key, because the body is the one that holds the memory often more than anything else. And so with past life and any kind of like soul memories, karmic memories coming through the body. I mean, I work with a guy today. He was stabbed in the stomach, in his past life. And we worked through the past life story, but we worked through the physical energy of that body. And he actually arrived today morning, and he was telling me, I now know where I was feeling nauseous all morning. but that was before our session. So he'd already come with that energy.
Yeah.
And so, you know, working with the body, but also interestingly enough, we're talking about mirroring and tuning in and almost being so intuitive empath with our clients because of the work we've done ourselves. So often when I treat clients, particularly around solar plexus, when I treat the organs like the stomach, and a classic thing is I might go into a not very ladylike, a belching fit.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you something, 7 out of 10 times my clients are belching at the same time. It's fascinating. I don't know if have you ever belched, or I was very
yeah, loads of time. I mean,
yeah.
I do sometimes suffer with acid reflux and indigestion quite a bit. And I've had to get some medication from the doctor to try and control it because it was really, really bad. And I was trying to tune into it to try and find out what was going on. I've done like loads of Reiki on that area and whatever. At the minute, it's because of what they've given me. It's calm, so it's given me chance to actually tune in better, because before it was more of a distraction to my sort of conscious mind. So I've been doing a lot of work with that, but before that anyway, I would feel like something and I would have to like let it out. And you know, they'll have the same thing or the same feeling, and they'll belch. And again, it's a release of, it's like a purging, it's like a movement of energy from them as well.
It's a movement of energy. It's movement of energy. It's also movement of emotion, which is obviously energy as well. So different organs hold different emotions. Traditionally in Chinese medicine, Louise Hay in her books will say other things, and there's other people who've written on the subject, but you know, the whole abdominal area is usually to do with insecurity. I mean, it ties in with the kind of chakras of powerlessness and, you know, and confidence and all that. But things like working with heart, grief, loss, love, you know, guilt, working with kidneys. Kidneys is often fear, gallbladder, control, liver, anger, you know, different parts of the body, potentially different things, you know. And it's interesting because I work a lot with jaw, I work a lot with teeth, jaw, I work with facial structures quite a lot, and I do work in the mouth quite a lot, because again, so much can just stem from in there, and particularly over treating people a lot with COVID, with what they called long COVID or ME, you know, they're very similar, and working with also vaccine injury. I've been working with a lot of clients who've had adverse reactions from the vaccine. Tapping into the nervous system has been extremely profound with that. I found Cranio has been profound, and a lot of my colleagues, a lot of us are working with people who have vaccine injury and experiencing the aftermath of having COVID, and their nervous system has just been really knocked, whether it's trying to work on getting the taste or smell back using the olfactory nerve here, or whether it is, you know, the exhaustion, the fatigue, the headaches. So it's, again, a great treatment I found for working with that, because the nervous system has been so badly affected, you know, working with nasal inflammation, working with drainage, so working with the mucous membranes and nasal drainage, working with releasing the throat in this area, working with releasing the facial structures, getting the heart pumping again, getting the neck released so everything can drain back up to the heart and drain back up, giving oxygenated blood to the brain. So it's kind of a science with it, but I think through current times, you know, craniosacral hypnotherapy is quite an amazing treatment to have, yet being completely natural, non-invasive, you know. And then obviously there is the remote versions, and there are, I mean, there's Bowen. I don't know if you've ever have you had a Bowen therapist ever come on?
I haven't yet. I do know one of my friends who's a regular client. She's had bone therapy before, and she really you know, goes for it, you know, and she really sort of does fly the flag for that. So it's something that it's another therapy that I'm quite unaware of what it is, but you know, that's kind of like what we're all about. We're all about learning and about connecting, and that's why I'm doing these coffee chats as well, just to make people aware of the amount of different diverse therapies that there are out there that can heal the physical, which is obviously being affected by so much more that's going on in the background, which most people are totally unaware of. So yeah, it's a fascinating way of working, and it goes back to like what we were talking about before, and how I got questioned about, you know, life purpose and life journeys, and what's this, you know, and yeah, I think you need to go through a lot of experiences and a lot of trauma and healing within yourself to learn about who you are, where you are, why you're here in this life, and what you can actually provide assistance to help other people on their journey, whether it be in a healing capacity, whether it be in a clairvoyant capacity, or whatever it may be. And then once you start to unfold these various layers, you start to become more aware of your intuition, your higher self, your soul, what your inner voice is actually telling you, and which pathway is right for you. And I do think that life is very much experiential, and we have to go through these processes to learn what we need to learn in that lifetime, and then the next lifetime, and then the next lifetime, and the next lifetime, and then we build like a catalog of information of who we are, where we're going, what our pathway is. And then but it can take like I mentioned in the video I'm currently uploading, you know, it can take eons to go from like basically an energy in wherever you've evolved from to come into the physical plane, to come to earth, to relive so many different lives, and to have so many experiential visits back to the earth plane, to learn. It's a fascinating journey, and I suppose it can be frustrating, I suppose, for a lot of people, because they just want, that's the other thing as well, people want everything now, they want the results now, and it's the way the world kind of geared, isn't it?
Absolutely. We're all quite spoiled in some ways, aren't we, in terms of you know, in one hand everything's there, but on the other hand, what can seem as a quick fix could come at a price. So, you know, yeah, I know exactly what you're saying. And it was just funny, we were talking about the eons, and I was just thinking, you know, how many lifetimes do you have to live to get to that place on your journey? Because it's an evolving soul journey almost, when I think of it in terms of the soul. Coming back, a different kind of incarnation, human, maybe coming back as a star, you know, on another planet, another dimension, whatever, constantly learning and growing, working towards that self-actualization state of the point of where I do no longer need to come back, because I've got all I need to learn to be at the next level. You know, it's a never-ending story of looking in the mirror, but how wonderful, how much more acceptable it is. I mean, I mean, obviously, Ian, you know, you're a male, you're a man, and you're in this field of work, and it's, you know, and just 10 years ago, there are not many Ians out there, you know, and even the client side, I offer a specialism, and again, it's not on my website yet, because I said I'm updating my website, but I'm actually, one of my specialisms is therapy for men, because I have so much experience working with men, and whether it be young men through the young offenders I worked with for 20 years, and men in general through other capacities. And I was called to make a page dedicating to therapy for men, because I have worked with so many men over the years, and I know that there is almost, you know, bringing men together to kind of, because my inquiries from men have tripled in the last 2 years. So many more men are seeking.
You think that's because of COVID?
I think it's pandemic, COVID. I think COVID, pandemic, people hitting rock bottom, dark spots, people questioning their existence, life purpose. questioning who they are, questioning if they're happy, mental health.
Do you think it's like awakening journeys as well? And people like
I would say it's completely awakening, because for me, an awakening often occurs through suffering, in my experience.
Absolutely.
Not for everybody. But I think a very wise lady I know said, when one awakens, it can feel like they're awakening in a coffin. It's quite dark, but it's quite an interesting concept, really, because it doesn't mean it's bouncy and it's like skipping in nature. It's not necessarily like that when you awaken. It could be, oh my goodness, I've been escaping for years with the drink, with the drugs, with the sex, with the gambling, with the television, and actually this is who I am. But as I am now, but then you do the work, then you start the work, the journey begins, perhaps. But that's one-sided. That's not obviously how it is. It's just some of my experience and some of the experiences of some of the amazing clients I've worked with, seeing them in their darkest spots to seeing them glowing afterwards and shining, with still some dark spots, but once they've been able to really look in the mirror and work through what they see, and feel, connect with themselves, it's been quite amazing. So I mean, what about you? Do you have a lot of males that come to you?
It's a bit of a balance, really. It's kind of 50-50 with me. So yeah, but it's interesting how they all seem to be, they're all quite similar to me and to like kind of my how I was before, so I mean I suffered many years ago with like mental health and anxiety, depression and all that sort of stuff, and that was, for me, that was kind of my kind of like rock bottom, and then that was the beginning of my awakening, really. And then it was just like, right, this can't be it, there must be more, bump, and off I went. And then I'm really quite happy that it did happen, and it is continuing to happen the way it is. Whereas a lot of people, something I did talk about, where people go through like a Kundalini awakening, where it's just kind of like bump, and they just switched on, and you're just like, whoa, it just taken on like a roller coaster ride.
Wow.
But yeah, there's this like kind of, I suppose, a connection maybe between myself and the energy work that I'm doing with the clients, and understanding that how powerful that the mind is, and how powerful the subconscious mind is, and the results that you can get just from 30 minutes of Reiki, and using crystals alongside the Reiki as well, can have quite a profound effect. And over time, it seems to build momentum and get stronger and stronger. So at the start, people might only feel the effects for 1 or 2 days, and then 3 or 4 weeks time, it's lasting a whole week. And then they're keeping like that momentum of every week, because it's keeping them on that balance. And it's something I have talked about before in other videos and on social posts as well, about you don't need to be in a situation to receive healing. Healing is about balance, and it's about maintenance, really, and doing it. So like yourself and myself, we would do some form of self-healing every day, or we would meditate every day, and it's all about keeping that balance and staying in that pool of stillness. And once you're in that pool of stillness, and you've got the ripples, they transcend out and they affect those around you. It's so powerful, really, really is.
Absolutely. It's almost like, things start at home in one place and they just ripple effect. It just reminds me of regression therapy. Some of my regression clients, everything in their life around them started changing after a treatment session, and they didn't come to work on that theme. So all my clients, we have a theme. It's not so it might be relationships is still one of my most popular. Life purpose, as I said, I get a lot of people. Even this week, a lady said, I want to work on life purpose. But at the end, we found out that there was a theme much deeper and much more important. That probably links to her not trusting herself to know which way to go, actually. But it's amazing how it can ripple effects. So it can help with career blocks, money. Money is a big one, blocks with money. Working with relationships. So one of my clients, she just said to me, Sal, I don't know what it was, but after our regression session, which I can't even remember what it was about, this was about 3 years ago, she said, my husband just changed his behavior towards me. And her husband didn't know she came for a session. He was the most unspiritual person, you know, and he was never very nice to her. And she just said, he just changed how he behaved. And that was within a few days of coming. And she's like, I don't know what happened, but he's just, and I haven't spoke to her lately, you know, this was a while ago, but the energy, when our energy field shifts and our soul starts realigning, because perhaps we've released, let go of something, cut cord with something, filled it up with light and love. And there's a shuffling and a transformation going on at a cellular kind of energetic level or auric level. It affects, you know, as I said, we're all one, as you said. So the vibration can shift with those around us, and it's not completely out of consciousness. It's nothing to do with consciousness. It is out there on another level of, and that is how it is. I would say, even with some of the Cranio treatments, it you know, one of the things they say is Cranio is great because it's a great treatment for children, babies, pregnancy, birth trauma. It's a really good treatment if you want a mother and a child to bond. Let's say there's been traumatic birth, maybe, you know, after the birth, baby was put in the incubator, maybe mum was out of it if it was a cesarean. So they say it's a really good treatment to bring that bond together, is to treat mother and baby. And there's been, you know, it's been shown that bond has improved, and then the breast, that, you know, the child's taken the breast milk up then and has latched on. And so it's quite, yeah, it's profound how this stuff can ripple out, whether it be relationships, whether it be in other areas of life as well. Yeah, it's quite cool.
I think anything in the physical world, like you say, you talk about career, you talk about money, you talk about jobs, relationships, whatever it may be in our 3D matrix of existence. Once we come to understand that it's kind of that is finite, and there's something much bigger behind the picture of everything, which is beyond the realm of our own perception and consciousness. It's universal and it's energetic. Once you start working on that vibration and that understanding of that, like you say, everything shifts, and you shift and you change your own vibration, your own energy, which in turn, like you say, it realigns the universe, because you start to attract. So when you go through awakening processes, what I've talked about before in other videos, is you tend to lose a lot of people. And a lot of people that you will probably understand that, a lot of people that you used to hang around with and be good friends with and go out with drinking or doing this, that, and the other, they suddenly become like, they just disappear. And then you're alone and you're like, well, hang on a minute, I used to be really, really popular. This is what's and then, but then you start attracting the tribe of people that you need around you to help you move to the next level.
And it's amazing
how it works.
It's like a metamorphosis, isn't it? A change, and it's like shedding your skin, getting rid of the old dead weight that didn't serve anymore, that which, you know, the energies may be dense, and then reboot, and then it's part of what that whole awakening process is in a way. But it is, you know, letting go, because when you let go of something, what happens? You make the space for something new. When you let go, something new can come in. And it's a bit like, you know, the clients I get who are still wanting to find love, but are still in contact with their ex-partners, still, you know, and, you know, the amount of, you know, and even friends, not just clients, goodness sake, friends. And you're just saying, well, you do realize why you haven't met someone new, because you still got that old person in your life. And that, you know, so the universe is getting a very confused message at the moment. I want someone, but actually I want them as well, or whatever confusion, or whether it's a sexual thing, who knows. It's the same thing with everything you're saying. It's like taking a leap of faith, making a change. The universe will respond to that as long as you're clear. You have a clear intention, there's a clarity. And by taking a leap of faith sometimes, I mean, I remember when I stopped drinking alcohol, which was about 5-6 years ago nearly. That was a big thing for me. But I mean, I was saying, I was already had my background in with young offenders for 20 odd years in counselling. But I trained in Reiki, actually. I did some Reiki training first, and then I was going down the cranial sacral route. And I went through a phase where I couldn't handle my drink anymore, to the point of my body would just get very sick. And what I realized was spirit, the universe, spirit really, and my body, my internal wisdom, my body's own internal wisdom, profound wisdom, was saying, no, you can't do your work. I'm not saying, of course, there's healers and therapists out there that are drink alcohol, and that's fine. But for me, it wasn't going to serve my vibration anymore. It was going to be a block to my work. It was probably going to allow me to have spirit attachments, because I do spirit attachments, and clearing energies and spirits is also a big part of my work. But it's an area which I only deal with if it comes up and I have to, but I try not to do it. There are spirit release specific people out there who want to do that, and that's great. But again, a lot of the clients I've had over the years who've come with attachments, we've taken them into trance, because I'm a hypnotherapist as well, maybe before we've done a regression, because the spirit attachment is preventing us from accessing the past life, and find out the spirit attachment joined them when they were pissed in a bar, or where they were, where they often lurk in dark places waiting to pop in. And there's some great books around stuff like that.
Well, that's it. Yeah, I mean, things like bars, clubs, all that sort of energetic environment, like you say, that's where these things prey, because people tend to go to a pub to drink a lot when they're at the worst. And they think that the answer is at the bottom of a glass. And that was the same with me many, many years ago, through all this mental health stuff, that they do believe that this answer is at the bottom of a glass, but you keep drinking more and more glasses, and the answer keeps getting further and further away. And then eventually it comes to a point where something does just switch on and just says, no, this isn't, that you're not going to get the answers this way. The only way you're going to get the answers is to get rid of all that, get rid of all the BS that you think is the answer, and go within yourself and listen to that.
Though, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, but that's it.
Over an hour nearly now.
Oh yeah.
I still have so much more to ask you. So I think we're going to have to do another video.
Sure.
You've touched on Reiki, you've touched on crystals. So I'd like to talk to you again.
I love crystals. So you'd have to tell me all about crystals. I've got so many, but I wouldn't say I did a very basic crystal healing course years ago. I wouldn't go around and do crystal healing, but I love crystals. I've got them all around my house. I know that they serve me and they help me. So I'd love to hear more about, you can tell me.
Absolutely. I'd love to. And obviously you've touched on hypnotherapy. So you've got hypnotherapy there. I want to ask you so much more about your awakening journey, about future goals. So there's a lot more to talk about, especially with regards to meditation and dreams as well, and dream state, and how you receive your information through that way. I think we'll leave this one here. I think it's been absolutely fabulous. The information.
Great, Ian. Thank you for inviting me.
I mean, the stuff that we've talked about, and the stuff that you've given us as well to talk about, and things to kind of like. I mean, I'll probably watch this video a few times myself anyway, just to kind of like let it all go in again and let it wash over me, so I can absorb it and understand it on a deeper level. But just listening to it with you now and being present with it, just like, wow, just profound, really, really profound.
There's so much out there. There really is. I mean, there's stuff that I'm still hearing about things I've never heard of, and it's amazing, really. We're in a great time to access, because so many people over the pandemic have gone and trained in something or another alternative, and because they need it, the world needs it. And so, I think healing, wellness, alternative, complementaries, all of that kind of stuff is just everywhere at the moment. It's so much more accessible, and there's so many modalities I've never heard of out there.
Absolutely.
So it's fabulous. It's fabulous. Thank you so much. It's been great.
Thank you for taking the time to do this as well with us.
Cool.
Yeah, so we'll leave it there for now, and I'll be in touch, and we'll get together again in the future, and we'll talk more, because yeah, absolutely fascinating, fascinating stuff. But yeah, until the next time, you take care of yourself. It's been lovely to see you, to meet you, talk to you, and yeah, we'll do it again soon.
Fab. Awesome. See you then. Take care now. Bye.
Bye.